Let's say that again. Many of our cognitive processes are actually physical, not mental. I hope I'm getting pushback because that is the major shift that makes all of this work. I'll come back to that. But first, our health. We have blood, and you can live for seconds without blood. So that tells me that blood's pretty important. If you just use that fact that we can only live seconds without blood, doesn't it make sense to see that blood is so important? We should do what we can do to make sure our blood is in good shape. Now, the medical narrative is that there's not a lot you can do about improving your quote unquote blood because the way the system works, basically it's a tube from the mouth to the exit, and the body takes the nutrients out of that for whatever it needs. And so the nutrients that the body takes out is what gets the blood to be what it is. And I'll bring that up in a minute when I start talking about alkaline as well. You live without blood for seconds. Oxygen, you can live without oxygen for minutes. So oxygen is pretty important. And in fact, oxygen is what the blood carries to the organs to help them function, including the brain. The oxygen is sort of a double benefit because you need the oxygen, obviously, for all your organs, but because the blood carries oxygen to the brain, et cetera, the more you can oxygenate the blood, the better off you're going to be. So oxygen is important. Breathing is important. I'm not going to get into it too much today, but I would say that slow down your breathing, all things being equal. If you do box breathing, that's 4 counts in, hold for 4 counts, exhale, hold that exhale for 4 counts. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. That's your 4 counts each. That's about 16 seconds. So that's about 4 breath cycles per minute. Now, you're not going to always be doing that, but if you just start paying attention to that breath cycle and practice it, if you practice it, you'll get to the point where you can have fewer breath cycles per minute. The next one is water. There's plenty written about water, but let me just put it in this perspective. If the blood, which we can only live seconds without, carries oxygen to organs, including the brain, and we know that when we're dehydrated, the blood moves more slowly. If you have low oxygen, and you're dehydrated, you have blood that doesn't have so much oxygen in it, and it's thick, so it's moving slowly. What does that tell you? You can go online and you can look all this stuff. If you look at it individually, it's all there. It's all very true. But when you look at the narratives that are out there, they're qualified, they're no conclusive evidence, that kind of language. But just work it out for yourself. Thicker fluids travel more slowly. And the other thing is this, when there's a deficiency, the brain is going to get what it needs. The brain will make sure it survives even if it loses other organs because the brain is the brain and it's controlling this thing. Oxygen and water are hugely important. And I know you've heard this before, but I'm putting it into context that of how it has to do with performance. And it's an obvious one while I'm talking about it in the physical area. The next one, water. So water, we can live days without water. So I said blood is seconds, oxygen is minutes. You can live days without water. So you see I'm going in order. And I think if you approach your health that way, you have some context. I would raise the priority of hydration because you can work on all these other things, but if the oxygen is not getting to the brain, you're still compromised. It becomes the weak link. It becomes the choke point.